death row.
Like we always do about this time.
I'm gonna fight your fucking ass!
You're playing touch butt with that dork in the park.
There's a little snake in the grass.
Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
No forget Jesus, people.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
Hey, pussy, are you still there?
I'm back.
Who the fuck is that guy? Break out the red panties. We're rich, baby.
I would like to introduce...
'57. In this show, we will review UFC 253 and preview UFC Fight Island 4, Holm vs. Aldana. Sorry, it's not more exciting, but we're going to make it exciting. I am Bob Voss, your favorite garbage man at MMA State of Mind, here with the real Mike Copenhaver at Don't Cope Just Win, and Mikey Gilman at Mikey Gills. That's Gills with a Z. Also follow the show on Twitter at MMAforMoney Show. Real Mike, how are you doing?
I'm doing amazing, man. Stoked to be here to talk about some fights as the presidential debates go on, but the real debates are going to be with me and Mikey going head to head.
I'm going to argue with whatever that guy says.
That's actually exactly how the presidential debates go.
Yeah,
so that's
exactly.
perfect. There you go.
Now, for real though, like as long as we're not talking about what happened to the Ravens last night, I'll argue anything else. So literally anything. Let's go.
I know that the football team, the MMAforMoney Show, is here live.
Nobody's as bad as the Atlanta Falcons, so you guys get an excuse.
What are you talking about, man? The Bears won. That's all I heard. So right now on Twitch, Periscope, and YouTube, we are live. You can find the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, Pocket Cast, the RSS feed. We have full-length shows on YouTube if you're watching us live here. If you can't watch the whole show, you can catch up after the fact. Please subscribe. You will never miss a show. Like, comment, and share. Please spread the word. Also, give us ratings on Apple Podcasts. That'd be fantastic. It helps us grow. And all of our DMs are open for criticisms as long as they're not too vulgar, I suppose, with things that you liked about the show, things you would like to see different about the show, things you want to see included. We're all for making the show better for you guys. We are going to do a quick breakdown of the results of UFC 253. We're going to go into some more of the fights, the ones that had to do with bets, and then obviously Mike Gills is going to give us an overview of how DraftKings did. So let me quick give you the overview of the results. Danilo Marquez got a unanimous decision over Khadis Ibrahimov. He's as bad as I said he was. Jeff Hughes lost to Juan Espino by a scarf hold in round one. Those still happen. William Knight got the unanimous decision victory over Alexa Coomer. Again, not even going to pronounce the first name on this one. Klein got the first round TKO head kick and punches against Shane Young. Jake Matthews did unspeakable things to Diego Sanchez, but it still looked weirdly close in some ways for a minus 750 favorite. Either way, Brad Riddell got the unanimous decision. He should for his price. Sorry, I'm pausing on this one because this one pissed me off. Hakeem Dawodu got a split decision win over our boy Zabira Tukov. That's where we had a bet. Don't worry, we'll talk more about that one after the fact. Caitlin Vieira got the unanimous decision over Star Eubanks, made her look small. Brandon Royval got that submission in round two. Another big underdog there. Janny from the block, Jan Blachowicz got a TKO round two in that fight. And I just want to let you guys know, don't be fooled by the rocks that I got. I'm still Jenny from the block. Used to have a little, now I have a lot. No matter where I go, I know where I came from. Not the Bronx, but Poland. And we can keep going with this, but we're going to move on.
Oh, man.
Israel Adesanya made it look easy against Paulo Costa. Somewhat of a measured first round. Then as soon as Costa started coming in, got him with a TKO left hook, 2 ground and pound, just filthy. And that's not talking about what he did to him after. That was just talking about the fight. Now, before we go over how our bet did, and then the co-main event, main event, I'm going to throw it to Mikey Gill so he could just go over how DraftKings did for the entire card, and then we'll go a little bit deeper on those views. So Mikey Gill's DraftKings, how do we?
Oh, we had a really good night. I actually went 4 of 6 on our picks for 492 points total. A couple of things really helped us out on this card. The two biggest ones were that our two underdog picks, like you said, Brandon Royval and William Knight, they both hit for crazy huge points. Royval for 112.5 points, William Knight for 101. But what also helped us out big time was that a couple of the other guys that were higher priced didn't pan out as well. Like Jake Matthews, for example, most expensive guy on the card, only hit for 87. Brad Liddell, 9,200, only hit for 68.5. But we didn't have those on our cards. That didn't negatively affect us. But Israel Adesanya for 110.5, Zubaira Tukhugov, and who are you looking at? Dominic Reyes. That broke my heart. Both of those guys let us down, but Espino still killed it. And I mean, after all that, like I said, 4 of 6 picks, 492 points. And the other thing I wanted to note with this was that Ludovic Klein was another guy that we were really big on. We were going to try to work him into our lineup last week when we still were talking about him as an underdog. Unfortunately, by the time the DraftKings salaries released, he was a favorite at that point, costing 8,300. But regardless, he came through as well. 104.5 points for him. But like I said, for us, Adesanya, Royval, Tukhugov, Reyes, William Knight, Juan Espino, 492 points. There's not a lineup that I had this slate in that didn't hit on first place. So go on us. Let's go.
Now we're gonna go a little bit more in depth on. I kind of gave my mini 2 cents on Dawodu versus Tukhugov. I'll give a little more explanation. I'm gonna throw it to Real Mike because I want his opinion. I want to make sure I'm not straight seeing things. I know the first round was close. I'm not denying the first round was close, but I thought the cleaner strikes, more consistent strikes were hit by Zubaira Tukhugov. He was dodging a lot of what Dawodu was throwing, or at least going with it and then making him pay for it. And then he clearly thought he was up 2 rounds. I mean, I thought he was up 2 rounds, but he clearly thought he was up 2 rounds and just kind of like pretty much did on his bicycle a little bit in the 3rd round. Dawodu really came forward a few times and like put a stamp on that 3rd round, but I thought it was clear 2 rounds to 1 for Tukhugov, and this was our bet. So we had 2 units for the minus 120, so it was minus 2.4 units for the fight card. Real Mike, tell me your opinion on how this fight went. Am I blind here? I mean, obviously, when there's money on the line, everyone's a little bit blind, if you know what I'm saying. But Real Mike, your opinion, Tukhugov, Dawodu.
Yeah, man. I mean, it was certainly a close fight in the sense of it went to a split. But I had Tukhugov winning round 1 and 2, especially with the defense that he was showing in rounds 1 and 2. I mean, he was sliding and dodging Dawodu's punches and minimalizing the damage, which to me, I score highly. I don't know about other people, but defensive striking to me is just as good as offensive performing and striking. So I just, it sucked, man. But he took the 3rd round off. That shit really, really pissed me off. But I really believe that we had rounds 1 and 2. I have no clue how. I think one of the judges gave him 30-27 on Dawodu completely. So I don't know what kind of drugs that guy's doing, but you can send him over to Cali and we'll have fun. But that judge was literally on one. Sorry for the loss, but we were on the right side of that. I believe the defensive striking was there. The striking was there. Everything looked good, but except for round 3.
Now, Mikey Gills, I know you were obviously didn't have a bet on it, but I know at least when we were talking before, you were a little bit more forgiving on the decision. Give me your points. Obviously, I know I'm a little bit jaded on this one, so by all means, counterpoint.
Well, I mean, the counterpoint would be where you guys said having money on it makes you see it a certain way. I'm kind of the opposite. If I did have money on it. I had him in our DraftKings lineup. So I'm looking at it. I wanted to see more. And when the first round was over, I remember looking over at the people I watched it with saying like, man, like, I don't think he's looking that good right now. And I gave the first round to Dawodu. So I actually agree with the decision. As far as like, it's like what Real Mike just said a minute ago, took the 3rd round off. You never want to end a fight like that. So I don't really have too much of a problem with the decision other than the fact that it took some money out of our pockets. But aside from that,
I was a little frustrated, not necessarily with the decision. I mean, I was, but more, I thought he was going to use the striking to help set up more of his ground game, especially like once he would back him up towards the fence. And it never really materialized. He tried like once for a half-hearted takedown and then never pursued it. And he just felt like he was doing well enough on the feet that he stayed there, which I'm still a little surprised about. But I mean, so yeah, sorry. Lost. We don't always win, but we win more often than we lose. So there you go. Now, before I jump to the co-main and main event, I know we didn't talk about this beforehand, but is there any other fight that you guys have a burning itch to talk about? Otherwise, we could hit those 2 before we move on.
Real Mike, anything?
Right off the top of my head, I can't remember what the dude's name was, but the dude that knocked Shane Young to hell, that dude was unreal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was Klein. Klein, that performance was unfucking real, man. I mean, Mikey and I were both high on Klein, but dude, Shin Young was no joke, dude, and he sent that guy to hell.
Yeah, the only thing for me would be Brandon Royval getting after Kai Kara France like the way he did. Came out there. His strike. The reason that I picked against him overall was his striking defense. He left himself too open, and he got cracked early in that fight. But then, I mean, one of the other reasons that we ended up putting him in the DraftKings lineup is because he has that crazy unorthodox striking, and he lands that elbow over the top, and that changed the entire fight. But Brandon Royval, after that initial barrage when he got hit a couple of times, couldn't have impressed me more. So yeah, let's go.
Yeah, definitely right about that. I mean, last week on the podcast, if you listened at all, I told you Royval's submission game was no joke and nothing to F with, and told you go sprinkle that submission prop, and if you did, I'm sure you cashed something pretty with him.
Yep. Yeah, that's the hard part. Sometimes you want these little bit better odds on props, and we only give out props when we are like, I think we've given 3 props on the history of the show, and we're 2-1. So don't give them out very often. So when we do give them out, listen, even if it's an inkling, because we're usually pretty dead on with those. We should have a little more confidence betting the props, but they burn you enough times. Like your guy wins but doesn't get the prop, kind of avoids that. But okay, in the co-main event, a lot of shocks happened, and yes, I know you all got to experience and just like fully absorb my spoken word Jennifer Lopez, but also you got to see a fantastic knockout and a 37-year-old Polish man just like lay waste to a man in his prime. It was absolutely impressive pretty much from the start. Jan was the one throwing. Those body kicks did damage early. The very first one like welted up Dominic Reyes' side, and he hit at least 2 more that round, and he was just landing cleaner and more frequently and in combination off the break. Like he was landing, and it almost seems like Reyes was really reserved in the early going. I don't know if he was trying to pace himself for 5 or what, but like the damage was accumulated in that first round, which set up that second round finish. And especially in the second round finish, that body shots just started drifting his hands that much lower. And then he just, when Reyes came alive a little bit in the second, Blachowicz was just landing like crazy. I think my biggest regret is just not betting Blachowicz here. I mean, he's my money train for the last like year and a half, and I stepped off one too early. But you know what? Jenny from the block got it. So we'll go with Mike Gill's first last time. We'll go real Mike, co-main event here. Jan Blachowicz, Dominic Reyes, opinions on the fight, and I guess chances Blachowicz stays champion for a while.
Wait, who shouldn't do?
Real Mike.
Yeah, man, this fight, holy shit, dude. I just was so stoked for Jana on the block, especially because Bob's been a fan of him since I've known him. I was so almost disappointed in the fact that I might have even talked him off a couple times of Jenny on the block, but he was such a humble. He performed so well against Reyes. He kind of knew it the whole week that he was gonna just go in there and just perform the way he did. And then on the other hand, Reyes, I don't know if he wasn't taking him as serious or he had a chip on his shoulder because he felt like he already deserved the championship belt because he felt like he beat John Jones. I don't quite know, but it was not the time to be doubting Jenny on the block. But dude, I believe it was towards the liver side, the kicks that Jan was throwing towards the Dominic Reyes' right side, the liver's right there. Usually that's what it affects, but you're going for, but you also hit those ribs. Dude, those ribs were damaged so badly, man. Like I would love to talk to Reyes and see how he was feeling the next couple of days, just with that side in general. But dude, Jan on the block, that Polish power. I couldn't be more happy to watch a more humble 205-pound champion than Jan Blachowicz. I hope that he's here to stay for a long time, but don't forget that Thiago Santos, knocked out Jan on the block himself. So he's going to be coming with some vengeance once he recovers that knee, which he's been recovering for a while. So I expect a war coming soon, but great performance by Jan on the block.
Yeah, just dovetailing off of that. Before the fight, the last thing I expected going into that is that Dominic Reyes would join the Andrei Arlovsky, Mike Perry club of getting your beak folded sideways like Daffy Duck. I did not see that at all happening.
Serious.
But just the ribs, like you were talking about, I was wondering watching the fight live. I didn't even see any like medical reports after. I was wondering if his ribs weren't broken. I mean, for that early in the fight, that fast to welt up and to get as bad as they were. Like I've had broken ribs before. You can't even move after that. I don't know if you guys have seen anything that I didn't, but that was brutal. So the whole fight, I was just wondering if something else was going on with that. But hey, credit to Jan. I mean, that guy he went in there, did what he had to do, beat the unholy hell out of him. I didn't see it coming. Bob, congratulations. So
hey, you don't congratulate, and there's just money on the line. So I wish there was money on the line. And I did at the end up picking Reyes just because, just how well he did against. I don't know, man. I need to start trusting my gut with these big underdogs because this is the second time that I've talked up betting one of them.
Dude, that's why when Bob says we're betting Roxanne Modafferi, I go, sure, go ahead. We're gonna do it. No fucking problem. I don't know what he sees, but we're doing it. Fucking totally fucking got my boys back. I'm gonna ride my boy.
Yeah, on the other end of that, if he bets Roxanne Modafferi, I'm right here going, nope, I'm not.
No,
hey, you and me both were like, oh hell no, KGB, we'll wife her, we'll take her home. Yeah, definitely, yeah. KGB's winning.
See, it would be way better if I had the experience of having when Roxanne was the plus 700 in her previous fight. That I said back when there was no fights happening, and me and Real Mike were searching for content to put in shows. We were talking about fights in the future that we can't make for them to wait for them to make, and the sides of bets we were excited about. And one of mine was I can't wait till the Roxanne Modafferi versus Macy Barber fight because she's plus 700. I'm gonna bet that. I talked about that for 2 months.
He said that for real.
And I didn't. And she won. So, and that was even when I talked about ahead of time. So I don't know. Gotta get better with my ideas for these crazy dogs. But either way, we will move on to the main event, which was not as shocking, at least for anyone on this show. If you listen to the show, we kind of realized the side we were on and where we were going. There's no bet on it, but we were all very big on Adesanya here. But Mikey Gills, the performance, I guess the DraftKings numbers, and we talk about disrespect in a different way, but after this fight, there was a different kind of disrespect.
Enough disrespect to get Paulo Costa on his Instagram calling for a rematch, just saying he was going to destroy him like within 24 hours. If you get beaten in that level of dominance and the guy dry humps you in the cage, stay off Twitter for a little while. Just let that one ride out. You let the presidential debates happen, and you let something else dominate the news cycle. Do not come back on the next day and do what Paulo Costa did because you look ridiculous.
Otherwise, Adesanya's going to come back on the next day too.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought he'd be in the hospital for a few days before he got to speak. Holy shit.
But no, Israel Adesanya, man, 110 points on DraftKings on an $8,500 budget. It's like we said on the show. That is a gift. It's like Moneyball, Brad Pitt. Pick it up, throw it to first, say thank you. That was a gift from them. This week we have something kind of similar to it, but we'll get to that at the end of the show.
Yeah, I mean, Adesanya, what do you say besides what I said last week on the podcast? I said Israel Adesanya is the best striker that we have in the UFC, offensively and defensively. And I also said he's got another gear that you guys haven't even seen yet. And that dude, I don't even know if we still saw all the gears, but he definitely got the gear 3 in the Ferrari and showed you a little bit of what he does when he rolls that beast. But he's straight disrespected and murdered Paulo Costa and showed the eraser that no one ever remembers his name because he's been erased.
Absolutely. I'm sorry. I'm still just. It was an amazing finish, and he's already sadly beaten pretty much every viable contender at middleweight. I mean, there's still guys there, like our boy Janet Cannonier's coming up, and if there's a guy that's made me almost as much money as Blachowicz, it's Jared Cannonier. So who knows? I mean, he's got the pyrite, he's got the crystals, he's got the focus. It's like you never know. Like his crystals sleeping, give him that energy.
We love us some Jared Cannonier over here. You want to come on the MMAforMoney show, Jared? Any day, bro. We love you. I got crystals and gems and all kinds of energy we talk about.
So we will start a GoFundMe of pyrite and send you a bushel of it if it gets you on this show. Okay, we're gonna jump ahead. Guess not so much. So this coming weekend where we're gonna go over UFC Fight Island 4. Yes, we are back in Abu Dhabi, and you know what that means? No last minute fight cancellations because one of 3 reasons. Abu Dhabi's taking care of all the testing, keeping everyone separate. Everyone's being real quiet. Or 3, everyone's being real quiet. The first fight where we might have some debate, I don't know. This is one that I full disclosure, delved way too deep into this fight because I thought there was something there, and I just can't do it given the layoff of these two guys. But Jason Ayari is -105 against Luigi Vendramini. Pretty sure I got that one. -115. Ayari is training partner of Peter Sabata. He's got a Muay Thai style, very punch heavy on actually, but he's big for 155. Had some troubles there at 170 against the likes of Till, but he's a bigger guy for 155. Likes to come forward, back you into the cage. They're in the big cage again, being in Abu Dhabi, so that won't be as much on his side. Luigi Vendramini looked real good against EDZ. I can't remember how our breakdown of him. Zaleski dos Santos, where he had a deep submission attempt on him in the latter part of the first round. But I mean, before he got utterly humiliated in the following round with a flying knee, but he looked good. I was trying to find an angle on this fight, but they're both, one's been off for a month, under 2 years, and one's been out for a year and like 7 days. So I'm going to 2 years and 7 days. Sorry, 2 years on both those. I'm going to stay away from that regard. If I had to pick, I do think Luigi has a chance to snatch up a sub, given the fact how tight he was able to get something like that on Zaleski, who I'm super high on, has a great ground game when he's not doing crazy spinning stuff and destroying fools. We'll go with Mikey Gills first to give us the DraftKings information, and then if you and Mike want to go at it, that's on you. I'll take a step back and let you attack each other over the very first fight of this fight card.
All right, the biggest lock on the card. No, it's not like that. No, start off with Justin Arai, 16-5, 3 knockouts, 8 subs, 6 foot, 73.5-inch reach, going for $8,200 on DraftKings. He's 1-2 in the UFC. He's lost his last 2 fights, both by decision. Like you said, he's very inactive, hasn't fought since 2018, hasn't won a fight since 2016, but before that, he hadn't lost since 2013. I'm not overly impressed with his striking too much from all the videos I can see. He kind of got some suspect defense standing up, leaves his chin hanging out. When he does get people against the cage, goes for those takedowns. He does a lot of work from top position. On the other side, Luigi Vendramini, 8-1, 4 knockouts, 4 subs, going off for $8,000 on DraftKings. Lost his UFC debut 2 years ago with that flying knee. Real aggressive fight style. Comes in there, gets in close, wing and power shot. Then he jumps it. If he gets you down, he'll jump on a sub if he sees it. The one problem that I have with Luigi that I noticed, a very padded record. It's something that we're seeing a lot during this COVID era, seeing it over and over. You go through his record of all the guys that he's beaten, all 8 of them. Not one of them had a winning MMA record. So that, to me, right there, along with the size advantage that we're going to get from Ayari, that's why I would pick Ayari to win on that. I just do not trust the guys that just can crush their whole career. So I guess Real Mike, which
Yeah, on this one, I like Luigi. I think that Luigi's got better striking defense. He keeps his hands up a lot better than Ayari, and his chin not as wide open. I think that Luigi's ground game is superior to Ayari, and Ayari is used to kind of being the nail when he's on top or trying to be the nail on the top position. I don't think he's going to be able to do that with a guy like Luigi, who scrambles so quickly. He transitions so well. I see him being able to get Ayari's back and being able to land in a rear naked choke and finishing him.
Yeah, and with that, one more thing. I mean, their prices are $8,000, $8,200. If it is kind of a coin flip scenario, I mean, 50% chance on that. But for both of them on our card, they'll stay away.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Casey Kinney is a massive -310 favorite over Haile Alatang. Oh man, I had meant up to quick bring up his profile because I love his nickname. He's the Mongolian Knight. Fantastic nickname. Just give crazy kudos on that one. Casey Kinney has looked fantastic at bantamweight. His lone loss coming to Murray Davishvili, who beats most anybody, and he was sticking with him and getting up after every takedown. I mean, I know that's part of Merab's game, and I know that's also why he's such a big DraftKings play, is because he gets so many takedowns, but that's because so many guys get up after he takes them down. Kenny has trouble when he doesn't have the wrestling advantage. It's kind of where he shines. And actually, if he is willing to make a more wrestling heavy game plan here against Alatang, I think it's a clear decision win for him. Alatang does have some freaky power, so that could play because Kenny obviously can get hit. So if he's smart, Kenny should clear to a decision. And with these odds, I can't do much with them in terms of bet, but pick is Kenny. Mike Gills, DraftKings, Mongolian Knight.
Yeah, no. Casey Kenny, 14-2-1, 2 knockouts, 3 subs, going off for $9,000 on DraftKings. He's 4-1 in his last 5. He won his last fight, submitting Luis Smolka with a guillotine. Has a win over our new boy, Brandon Royval, after that Kai Kara France win. A lot of people were down on him with the Marab thing, but let's face it, Marab's taking everybody to Suplex City. That's what he does. As far as Case style, real good at scrambles, uses top game really well once he's got opponents on the ground. Not too bad on the feet, but the thing about him that I like the most is gas tank. That dude's going to go for you all night. On the other side, Alatang, 14-7-1, 4 knockouts, 3 subs, going for 7,200. He's won his last 4 straight. He's 2-0 in the UFC with 2 decision wins. He's also a decent wrestler, just not on the same level. But on the standing up, this guy's going to throw power shots at you. He's going to try to go for the win. My pick here, Casey Kenny. He's the better fighter everywhere. He's a great pick for DraftKings at 9,000. He's not on our lineup tonight, but if you want to put him in, you could do a hell of a lot worse at the higher end.
Yeah, I mean, on this fight, I'm a big fan of Casey Kenny, a guy that can wrestle and transist with a guy like Merab Dvalishvili. It's a type of pace that you just cannot understand unless you've been in the jiu-jitsu gym or the wrestling room with a high caliber wrestler or grappler. Casey Kenny's transition and scramble ability, especially now after the Merab fight, after he's learned a few of the things that Merab threw at him, it's second to none. This guy's going to have absolutely nothing for him on the ground. Once he realizes that this machine still comes after round 2, round 3, I just see Casey Kenny being way too much on the ground. His jiu-jitsu game is way, way, way too sick. Not to mention he's also a great striker too. So he has the ability to not only rely back on his striking, but he can go back to doing his wrestling and his jiu-jitsu. I think that the new guy's just going to have trouble with a guy like Casey Kenny. Casey Kenny's going to be way too much with the gas tank that lasts way too long. I say round 2, round 3 submission by Casey Kenny.
Now, full disclosure, this next fight is going to go to Real Mike first, just because I know, after I talk about it, but because I know how much Real Mike has both made money and been a fan of Loma in the past. So Loma Lukbunmi is minus 135 versus Jin Yu Frey plus 115. These are both, atom weights fighting here at 115, but the UFC doesn't have atom weights. Jin Yu Frey does great when she could out-muscle you when she's the bigger fighter, which doesn't really happen at 115. So that's an issue. Her age is an issue. The fact that she's barely won the last few fights that she has won, and if he had different judges, probably would go a different way. Loma has some fantastic Muay Thai and a fantastic clinch. And really the only reason that because we were actually, I know we were leading her, I can't remember if we picked her or not, against Angela Hill. The reason she lost that fight is because Angela Hill is so much more physical and big for 115 that she was able to out-muscle her in the clinch. That's not going to happen here to someone of a comparable size. So in the clinch and with the striking is on the Loma side. This was almost a bet for me, but you can tell I'm pretty high on Loma here at the minus 135, and that's obviously a pick for me. And if we get a little bit tighter there, closer to even money, it probably even would be a bet. Real Mike, Loma versus Frey.
Yeah, this one, like you said, it's going to be interesting. I like Loma's stand-up game. I like her clinch situation and everything that she does up there. But what I don't trust is her ground game and the ability to get back up when she's down on the ground. So that's why I was just a little bit hesitant on a bet. And if she could prove that a takedown defense or a get-up game that was a little bit better, I would say that she would have a much easier path to victory here. But Jin Yu Frey is going to be a little bit longer in reach, a little bit taller. She's also, I just feel like if there's going to be 2 smaller girls in the octagon between these two, I feel like Jin Yu Frey is going to have a little bit more leverage of the two. But that's just my personal opinion. No bet here, but I'd have to say a possible 3-round decision by Frey.
Yeah, going off Loma here, she's 4-2, 1 knockout, 3 decisions. Going off at $8,500 on DraftKings. Like you guys said, really good Muay Thai. She's really strong on the feet, very active. And that's what I really like about her, especially from a DraftKings perspective. She's going to throw strikes to the entire fight. And at 85, I like her to win in this fight against Jin Yu Frey, who, like you guys said, she's going to be the bigger girl in there. And her path to victory in this fight is really to just try to out-muscle her. And, maybe she can do that. I don't see that happening personally. I think she's going to get tagged up a little bit on the feet for this one. Maybe if she can work her against the fence and get her down like that. But again, like you guys said earlier, in the clinch, Loma she's no joke right there. So for me, Loma at 8,500 is a decent play. Fry at 7,700. I don't really see it, especially if because her path to victory, even if she did win, would be a low scoring affair, I would think. So Loma at 85, if you wanted that, not a bad play. Fry is a stay away from me.
Yeah, that was some great outlook there too from Mikey's DraftKings perspective, because I totally agree. I don't think Jim Ufray is going to land points on Loma. I think she's going to do a boring 3-round, hug and wrestling affair on the ground.
Yeah.
Next up, Jordan Williams is minus 140 versus Nasruddin Amavov plus 120. In terms of a pick, I would go on the Amavov side. I like his hands, but I am staying away from a bet because UFC debutantes, I don't put money on. I just utterly refuse to. Jordan Williams has a wrestle-heavy game. He's good at it. He doesn't cut weight. You can remember the story about him. He is a type 1 diabetic, so he can't cut. That's type of severe amount of weight. So he's undersized for the division. So in turn, that might stifle the wrestling a little bit. And I have liked Amavov's takedown defense from what I've seen. So quick pick is Amavov. I guess that's all I got on that one. Mikey Gills.
Let's start off with Jordan Williams, 9-3, 7 knockouts, 1 submission, 6 foot tall, 76.5-inch reach, going for $8,700 on DraftKings. He's 4-1 in his last 5 with a no contest in the middle of that. That was actually a win. It got turned over for weed. He went 1-1 on Dana White's Contender Series. One thing I like about him coming into this fight is that he fought 2 weeks ago. One thing I don't like about him in this fight is that he fought 2 weeks ago, because you never really know how that's going to affect a guy. Fast fighter, good hand, comes in aggressive, and I think he matches up well here. But Nasruddin Imavov, 8-2, 3 knockouts, 4 subs, going for $7,500 on DraftKings, making his UFC debut. He's won 5 in a row, 4 by stoppage. He won his last fight against Jonathan Munir. You recognize that name from the UFC. Really fast hands and a brawling style. And for me, when it comes to a dog play, when I watch Imanov fight, if he can drag Jordan Williams just a little bit more into his world, he makes that dog fight. I mean, this is a guy that'll come at you with his hands down and just get ready to throw hard. I like I can't say his name, Imavov, in this fight too. So I would take him at $7,500. We're going to lock him in, and we're going to hope for that knockout early. So yeah, like I said, $8,500, Imavov. Williams at $8,700. I think there are better plays at that price range. For me, that's a stay away. So if you're listening to us, stay away from him. Imavov, $7,500. Let's go.
On a quick pick, I'll take Imavov.
Next up, Joshua Kulabau plus 355. That one's for sure wrong. For instance, Charles Jourdain minus 445. I didn't even look into this one. And the main reason I didn't is because I know Charles Jourdain is better, just all around. And he looks like he's on the appropriate nutrition plan going into this fight. Like, they got his scheduling down right, time of day. He's primed and ready.
He's on that Paulo
nutritionally
Costa.
speaking.
He's on that Paulo
Nutritionally
Costa.
speaking. I don't know, dude. He looks like after Paulo Costa got utterly dismantled by Israel Adesanya and he fell down to the ground in pieces. Like, when you play video games and after you beat a guy, they fall down and then they like disintegrate into like items or like food, whatever like that. So he came around and like what became the food that landed on the ground, he ate it and then just filled himself out a little bit. So take that as you will. I do think Charles Jourdain is going to get the finish here. I think this is just kind of a gimme fight for him. This should just be a kind of a keep busy fight that I believe he will get a finish in. I need to say who's next. Go ahead, real Mike.
Charles Jourdain, man, he's super impressive. A guy that we don't get to see enough in the octagon, but man, his striking, his well-rounded mixed martial arts game, he's gonna give us a highlight, whether it's a submission or a TKO KO finish this weekend. He's one of the highest prospects that I have on the card that I've liked for a long time. That just, like I said, just doesn't get to fight enough to show you his game. But Joshua Calvillo, don't get it twisted. He does have some knockout power, and he can spoil the affair here in the first round. But I think that this is Charles Jourdain's fight to win all day. He's got everything that he needs to get this victory.
Yeah, before earlier, we were talking about guys with bad records that are coming into the UFC, or not guys with bad records, but guys that beat guys with bad records. Kalu, he's another one. The guy he beat before getting into the UFC was 8-8. The guy before that he beat was in the middle of a 7-fight losing streak. So if that's what you're walking into the UFC and you expect me to pick you against Charles Jourdain, I'm not going to do that. I mean, we're talking a guy with a win over Korean Superboy here, fought Andre Fili to a really close one. So $9,300 for Jourdain. He's a lock. He's going in our lineup. There's really nothing else to say for it. Charles Jourdain, lock him in.
On this week in MMA Veterans That Make Us Sad, Carlos Condit is plus 110 versus Court McGee minus 130. This is actually a winnable fight for Carlos Condit. It absolutely is. The first time he's had one of those, and
don't you put that evil on us, Ricky Bobby.
I'm not gonna pick him outright because I don't want to jinx it, but man, do I want a Carlos Condit win. I want him to win. It'd be a good enough fight that he feels good, and then he retires. Because man, I love me some Carlos Condit. He's one of my favorite guys back in the day. I actually picked him to beat George St. Pierre. I said he was going to put him out with a head kick, and I was like 3 follow-up shots away from calling that one after he fell to the ground and kind of scrambled away. And depending on the ref, I don't know, long time ago, obviously. But yeah, Carlos Condit is not that man anymore. But you know what? Court McGee is not Court McGee anymore. He doesn't throw as much offense as he used to. He does come forward, but he more comes forward, doesn't strike forward, if you get what I mean. He does have the wrestling edge here to a degree because Carlos Condit is getting easier and easier to take down, especially because he kind of concedes to be on bottom, to like throw elbows up and then attempt subs that never really go anywhere, but he goes for it. But I do think he throws enough output and varied output to win this fight. So I'm going to pick Carlos Condit. No bet on it, but man, I want Carlos Condit to win. I want him to win so bad. I don't know if he will. Damn it, I hope he does. Mikey Gills, Carlos Condit, Court McGee.
All right, so I mean, we can skip the records. Everybody knows who these guys are. Start off with Court McGee, though. Just right off the bat, picking a guy because he used to train with Chuck Liddell in 2020. Whew. So already
Dude,
starting
John
off tough.
Hackleman.
I'm just saying, back in the day, if this was 2006, I'm like, hell yeah, let's go. Just not so much right now. But Court McGee is 1-4 in his last 5, lost 2 in a row. We're talking about a guy who hasn't won consecutive fights since 2013. The only real thing that I can think Court McGee has got going for him in this fight is that he's never been finished. And Carlos Condit, a guy who, when he wins, it's usually by finishing people. So going back to Carlos Condit, oh boy, we're in the sad times. This is like when the nothing is approaching in the never-ending story. Just you can see it, Artax is trapped in the swamp. But anyway, he's in the sad part of his career. Lost 5 straight, 8 out of his last 10. He hasn't won consecutive fights since 2012. And just the one real problem for Carlos Condit right now is just his style of fighting does not age well. So when it comes down to picking this fight and who's going to win, it's almost heart versus head. Like my head is telling me, hey, Court McGee, he has a style that ages better. He can put him against the fence, kind of drag some points at him. Then the other side of me is going like, what are you, nuts? Like, yeah, they're both washed up, but if they're both in their primes, Carlos Condit, he wipes the mat with this guy. So for my pick right now, Carlos Condit at $7,900 on DraftKings. I have to believe that there's a little bit of magic left with this guy. I have to believe that he can beat Court McGee. And for that reason, and just because of budgetary reasons, I'm putting Carlos Condit in our lineup tonight. $7,900 and a true finisher. If he's on his game, this guy can pay off big for you. Court McGee, another guy like we talked about earlier with Fry at $8,300. I just don't believe he's going to be active enough to win a fight against Carlos Condit. I think if he wins, it's going to be more of a holding him down type scenario or up against the cage. So Carlos Condit, $7,900. Court McGee, stay away.
Oh my God, Carlos Condit, man. I love that fighter, man. I've let my heart get to me too many times. I let my brain get to me too many times. Carlos Condit has the worst takedown defense that I've ever fucking seen, ever, dude. I fucking, not even joking. Then high school wrestling, just junior wrestling, anything, dude. It's the fucking worst takedown defense I've ever fucking seen, ever. The only way that he has a path to victory is a finish. Carlos Condit hasn't finished anything but a batch of cookies in the oven fucking last week. That's the only thing he's done is baking fucking cookies. And that's because the Chips Ahoy cookies come so easily bakeable. It isn't because he knows how to make them. It's just because they came bakeable. But Court McGee's never been finished. He's not going to be finished. Carlos Condit's not doing shit. Not a goddamn thing besides eating takedowns all 3 rounds. He's going to be on his ass more times than you could fucking ever fucking scream. You're going to be pissed off just like I've been pissed off, wondering why the fuck this guy hasn't learned takedown defense or a get-up game or something fucking professional in all the fucking years that he's been doing this shit. It's the worst fucking takedown defense you've ever fucking seen in your whole fucking life. It's so fucking disgusting. I cannot even get into it on how fucking disgusting Carlos Condit takedown defense is, but he's going to fucking he's going to get taken down all fucking day by Court McGee. He's going to lose a decision. It's going to be the boringest fucking thing you've ever seen in your life. Carlos Condit sucks.
Mike, your skin tone changed there. You went at least 3 shades redder during that.
No, that's because we bet Carlos Condit versus someone fucking last time or something, and he fucking didn't do shit besides get taken down, eat takedowns. All I do is like, oh, what's this? Oh, grab my leg. Oh, take me down. Yeah, that's nice. Oh, single leg turn and dump. Oh, what's that? Oh, no, nice. Let's take me down. Oh, yeah, I didn't learn shit. Professional fucking athlete hasn't learned shit. Crazy.
That is the passion I love seeing on this show. I love that.
And that was this week on MMA Vets Make Us Sad.
That was sponsored by 805 Brewery.
All right, good. No. If it helps, the fight that made us sad was I believe it was the Neil Magny fight. That one made it sad. That was the one we bet.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Neil Magny took him down, and it was
Neil
sad.
Magny, Court McGee wrestling is almost the equivalent of each other, so it's just takedown city coming.
I can't believe that's tonight. Don't do this to me.
I'm putting that evil on you, Ricky Bobby.
Next up, we have Kyler Bobice Phillips minus 450. Trust me, that reference is spot on if you have to use Google. Versus Cameron Elsie plus 360. Cameron fancies himself I'm gonna dive at your foot in the first minute. If I don't get it, life gets hard. And he's doing it to a lot of scrubs for the most part. He has some names on there, but that was super early in their career. Phillips is going to hurt him once he doesn't get that fluke ankle lock, heel hook, toe hold, you name it. Probably 2 minutes into the first round, Phillips can start unloading. I wouldn't be surprised if Else makes it through 2 rounds. So I think we're going to get a Bobice finish. Real Mike, how you feeling about Phillips versus Elsie? I still don't know how to pronounce it.
Oh, I'm a big fan of Kyler Phillips. His jiu-jitsu game, his scrambling ability, his striking. I think he's got way too much for Else. I don't even know how they've given him such a gift of an easy fight. I think Kyler Phillips is a parlay piece that you'd pair along with Casey Kenny and possibly Drain Durandamy down the road, because we'll get into that in a little bit. But I think that Kyler Phillips is everything and more for Cameron Else. And Cameron Else is going to learn levels to this game on Saturday.
I'm going to start off with Cameron Else right here. He's 10-4, going off for $7,000 on DraftKings. Let's get into this 10-4 record. You guys know how I like to do this. We're going to go since 2017 on this guy's record. His opponent's records from that point: 0-0, 1-1, 0-0, 4-0, 0-1, and his last fight before getting his shot was 3-14. I'm not making any of that up. Those are records.
It's so disgusting.
It's ridiculous. I mean, you watch him fight, his style. You say he's going to dive at your ankles, trying to get you down. Standing up, he's going to throw big, wide, looping hooks. I got no time for this guy. Kyler Phillips on the other side, 7-1, 4 knockouts, 1 sub, going off for $9,200 on DraftKings. He's won 2 in a row. He's 1-0 in the UFC. This guy, he's going to come out there throwing heat. This is a fast starter. 5 first-round finishes. 5, and that is how you make money on DraftKings. You back guys like Kyler Phillips. For our lineup tonight, because you can only pick certain guys at the highest level, I wanted to put Kyler Phillips in our lineup, but I had to structure it a certain way to get guys on the lower end that I was comfortable with. But by all means, if you find a way to lock Kyler Phillips into your lineup, $9,200, go for it. Don't even think twice. Cameron Else at 7,000, think twice. Think 3, 4, 5, and 6 times. Do not put this guy in your lineup. He's terrible. Unless, of course, Kyler Phillips morphs into someone with an 0-0 record. He is fantastic against those guys. Kyler Phillips, let's go.
Sorry, I just want to double check my pronunciation. This one's going to be rough, so I apologize. Got to breathe into this one. Okay, Daquan Townsend is plus 260 versus Dusko Todorovic, minus 333. This is, in my opinion, an absolute setup fight. They're giving Dusko someone who's going to stand and fight with him so he could put him out and get a highlight reel. Some of you might not know is Dusko has also a fantastic finish in the first round against someone else who's making waves, who's also exciting, Michelle Pereira. And before the Townsend fight, they were trying to set up the John Phillips fight for Dusko. Yes, another person that will swing wildly and likes to get knocked out. So they're giving him a highlight reel here. Obviously it's steep pricing, but they want to get him a finish. They want it to look good. Inside the distance is only minus 140 or so, I think. For sure, that was the last line I got on that. Let me quick check that for you guys, just because I looked for a couple props in this one that I was liking, but not in this fight, over this card, and just have been put off by them. Oh, never mind. I take the back. It's plus 105. Might sprinkle a little bit on that. I take all of that back, but not for an official bet. That's my own personal monies. But I do think that Dusko is going to dust Daquan Townsend, and it's going to be vicious, and it's going to be ugly, and it's going to be entertaining. See, I'm not even turned around on myself. I don't even know who's supposed to go. Someone raised their hand. I'll go with whoever raised their hands. There you go.
I'll go for this just because on this show we have a theme, and we talk about disrespect a lot. And a couple of times recently, disrespect has gotten us. So I'm not going to do that again because I don't want another Kevin Kroom over Roosevelt Roberts. I don't want another Derek Minner over TJ Laramie. I don't want to do that. So Daquan Townsend, a professional fighter. He's 21-11, 12 knockouts, 5 subs. That's not bad. 7,100. He's lost his last 3 in a row. Look, we all have speed bumps. All of us do in life. We all do. He's a wild striker, you might say, but hey, there's positives to that. I'm sorry, guys.
He tried his best.
Yeah, sorry. No, he's gonna lose this fight.
If you're not watching video, I've been cracking up this whole time.
Sorry. Dusko Todorovic, 9-0, 5 knockouts, 3 subs, going off for $9,100 on DraftKings. True finisher. He's got 8 of his 9 wins are by knockout. Wait, no, that's not. I'm sorry, I messed that up. You guys know what I meant by finish. Inactive. That's the only thing I really have going against him in this fight. He's only fought twice in the last 2 years. But other than that, we're talking a guy with a much more diverse skill set than Quanson. On the feet, he's better striking. He can throw him down. He can out grapple him. I just think, like you said, this is going to be a showcase fight for him. So $9,100. If you want to throw it to Todorovic in your lineup, by all means, go for it. He's pretty much a lock for a win. Townsend at 71. Again, I'm not going to be disrespectful. This is a guy, he could throw a huge shot and KO him. We've seen it before. We've Kevin Kroom and Derek Minner. We've seen crazier things recently. But again, Todorovic, 9,100, lock him in.
Yeah, man. This is going to be more of a gift-wrapped fight for Dusko to come in here and just mollywop Deshaun. I don't see how he's going to have a chance at all in the bigger weight classes. The punishment is so brutal, and it's just, one punch and you're down. I believe that Dusko is going to absolutely just demolish Daquan, and he's a parlay piece with Casey Kenny, with Charles Jourdain. You could put all those 3 in a parlay, put your money on it. That shit's cashing. We'll talk about it next week.
In the one that should have been the co-main event but isn't because of a terrible heavyweight fight, Jermaine Deranami minus 135 is fighting Juliana Pena plus 115. Now, full disclosure, I'm a fan of GDR, but even beyond that, Juliana Pena has had 1 fight in about 3 years. Combination of horrific knee injury and having a baby. And leaning a little bit too much into commentating for Combate Americas, but that's beside the point. Her game is takedowns from size and strength, not even as much technique and wrestling. Jermaine Deranami is probably the best pure kickboxer at the weight class. I'm saying pure kickboxer. I know obviously there's other things and other people she would lose to, but whatever. Deranami, I'm just going with GDR because I keep going too much. You think I'm Dutch also. You think I'd be able to pronounce the last name, but I kind of the first name and the last name flow a little bit too well, but that's just kind of how Dutch names are. Like my grandma's name, a given name was Hafida Chiquita Heisinga. So like everything kind of like flows. But GDR is going to land frequently on Juliana Pena, who is going to be hesitant on her entries. She's going to get landed on, and she's going to get that stiff jab in the face every time she tries to get anywhere near her, and is going to put some serious power on her face. And Pena doesn't like to get hit in general, and especially now her knee is questionable, and her entire fight, anything is questionable. Whereas GDR, even though she also takes big gaps between fights, she is a consistent performer and always has been. She always shows up. She always fights to the best of her ability and always looks good. And yes, I'm going full bore on this one because this is my pick and bet for this fight card. She's at minus 135. That is 1.35 units to win 1 unit. That is my bet for the show. These guys may tear it down, but we know how it really is. Real Mike, GDR, Juliana Pena.
Man, GDR, she's one of the best strikers of female. She's one of the best female strikers there is, period, in the game. Her, along with Arena Aldana, Holly Holm would be another decorated striker. It's just unreal. And the power that GDR holds is truly devastating, man. She's knocked out men before in sparring matches and in fights. So I really think that Pena's in for a rude awakening here. Once she feels GDR's power land on her face and realize that this is not a game anymore, GDR is not only the best striker, but she's also been working on her jiu-jitsu. She's been taking it super serious last like 5 years. She has a lot better ground game than most people would think. Pena has absolutely nothing for GDR. GDR's takedown defense is actually really good. She underhooks well. She spins her opponent well. She's a great mixed martial artist. The only detriment that GDR has is that she's getting older. But that's not going to deter in this match. She's going to mollywop and beat the hell out of Pena. I think that if she lands correctly and enough times, I believe she could put Pena out and end her night. So that 1.35 units on GDR is an absolute gift for the best female strikers of all time. Just like I said last week, Israel Adesanya. There's levels to the striking game, and GDR is going to lay face on Pena.
I mean, you guys basically said it all. It's just anytime I hear Juliana Pena's name, I immediately go back to Dana White losing his mind after one of her training partners jumped on her back and caused that knee injury. Dana White lost his mind, was calling for the training partner to be arrested and all sorts of crazy stuff. So that's immediately every single time I hear her name. But right, it's like you guys said, GDR is going to win this fight. She's beating anybody that's not named Amanda Nunes. She's going on for $8,600 on DraftKings. You got her for your bet. We got her in our lineup. Juliana Pena at 7,600. I don't see how she wins this fight. She's going to try to take her down. She's going to try to push her against the cage. Jareen Narandibi's got 3 inches of height and 3 inches of reach on her. I think a much stronger, better striker who's also got a wicked clinch game herself is going to be able to keep her away. She's going to be able to pound on her. And as far as even putting a dog in her DraftKings lineup, Juliana Pena, I just don't see her getting a finish or even scoring a lot of points. So it's GDR at 8,600. She's locked in our lineup. Pena for me is a stay away. I wouldn't recommend her.
It's funny how you say the first thing you think about when you hear Juliana Pena. So the first thing I think about is when Sexyama was fighting Amir Sadala, and he took him down against the cage for long portions of this fight. This was when he did the platinum silver hair. I don't know if it's his natural hair color. He just went that way, but he took down Amir Sadala. And cage side is Juliana Pena, and he's spitting game while he has Amir Sadala down for 2 to 3 minutes of the round as he's pummeling Amir Sadala, just winking at her and talking to her, and they pan to her in the screen, she's winking back. Obviously doesn't have anything to do with this fight, but just going along with it.
It shows fight IQ. If she's not going to take up Sexyama on that, then I have to think she's not making a lot of other wise decisions in her life.
Exactly. So. That's a very astute observation. So
yeah. It's another drop in the bucket of it's the scales. I don't like it.
Going with the Holland policewoman in this one. Next up is the co-main. Before we started recording, I think even before you were into the chat, I'm asking, how is this the co-main event? But every site I look at, every Tapology, I'll have this list as the co-main event. There must be some kind of mistake. I'm okay if I'm wrong with this order and it's different on Fight Night, because this makes no sense to me. Yorgan De Castro, minus 260, who just lost to Greg Hardy, versus Carlos Felipe, who just lost plus 220, who just lost to Spivak, are in the co-main event. And here it is. I mean, I guess Castro lost better. So I'll pick Castro, but low level heavyweights. I mean, if you just bet the dog in the level heavyweights fights, you're going to end up ahead. So I guess my pick is De Castro, but I don't care. I don't care at all. Mikey Gills, De Castro versus Felipe.
All right, well, I'm going to make you care just a little bit more because De Castro is going in our DraftKings lineup, and let me explain this for you. He is a more expensive guy. He's $8,900. He's coming off the loss to Greg Hardy, like you said. It's not very inspiring, but I promise it'll get just slightly better. I watched these guys, both of these guys, fight tapes. De Castro is just a more athletic version. He throws harder, he hits harder, he has a more diverse striking arsenal. He actually throws some really good kicks to the body when you watch him fight. And just anything that I saw against Felipe was just not quite as good. And you're talking about DraftKings. This is heavyweight MMA with real first-round finish potential. So when I'm looking at that leaned me towards Castro. Also, again, trying to be able to fit people in on the bottom end of the budget. I had to make tough decisions at the top. But going against Felipe, reasons that I wanted to go against him, was dominated against Spivak in July this year. Before that, he had a 2-year USADA suspension for stanozolol, which I believe is just a regular old steroid. So pretty much
not
anything,
the good stuff, the low bar stuff.
Yeah. So if you're not doing designer drugs, get the hell out of my DraftKings lineup. That's basically what it comes down to. But no, I just think De Castro is the more athletic of the two, throws a little harder from more angles. So for that, we're going to put him in our lineup, and I'm going to trust that he's going to get this done.
Yeah, this fight is really ridiculous. You have, Carlos Condit and Court McGee back on, was it the fucking prelims? It was, right?
Yeah.
It was on the prelims.
I think they might be in the prelim.
Two veterans, one of them who was almost world champion, Carlos Condit, on the prelims.
Dude, interim champ. He does have the belt.
Jorgen De Castro versus a guy I've never fucking heard about. I don't care. I didn't want to care. De Castro is probably going to win this fight. That's all you're going to get from me because this fight's stupid.
If just one last thing, Felipe hasn't won an MMA fight since 2017. So if that helps at all, just there you go.
Yeah,
Castro was a good year.
Castro for wine over in Cali.
Sorry. We'll move on to an actual fight. Although, yes, I agree. It is depressing that this one is also the main event. It warrants a main event way more than the previous fight warrants a co-main event. So Holly Holm, a one-time champion, multiple time title challenger, is -120 versus Irene Aldana +100, who, if she wins this fight, is pretty much signed, sealed, delivered for a title shot. Aldana has made us a lot of money in the past. Holly Holm has made me a lot of money betting against her in the past. I think one of my biggest bets ever was Shevchenko against her, both straight and by decision, and that did well. And I think this one kind of mirrors that one in a strange way. Not so much the kicking game, because I don't think Aldana has the same kicking game as Shevchenko, but the ability to be able to sidestep and hit Holm with the counter as she's coming in. And unless Holm is just going to keep at distance with kicks, the 5-round worries me a little bit because Aldana doesn't have as much experience with that, and it's a big cage, so you don't have to worry about Holm pushing her up against the cage for long portions of the fight and trying to outmuscle within the clinch. Although who knows? I do think Aldana has a good enough ground game that if we get wrestler Holm, Aldana should be able to handle that. So pick is Aldana over the course of the 5, and maybe we can get it finished because at some point, Holly Holm's pushing 40. She has a lifetime of pro boxing, pro kickboxing, MMA fights, and has been knocked out in the past with bigger gloves. So we shall see. We're going to go to Mikey Gills first to go do the DraftKings and go through picks because I know that my man, Real Mike, has a bet on this one. So we'll let him close this one out. So Mikey Gills, Holm, Aldana.
Yeah, just starting off with Holly Holm, 13-5, 8 knockouts, 5 decisions. The real stat that stands out here is 38 years old, $8,400 on DraftKings. She's 3-2 in her last 5, 3-5 since beating Rousey. She beat Raquel Pennington earlier this year. Not the most impressive thing. We all know who Holly Holm is. Irene Aldana on the other side, like you guys said, going off at $7,800 on DraftKings. And for everything that you said and everything that Mike's about to say, we're putting Irene Aldana in our DraftKings lineup. She's 4-1 in her last 5. She's won 2 straight. This is the story that we've seen a million times of a fighter on the rise versus a fighter on the decline. And I think at 38 years old, this is when they cross for Holly Holm, and Aldana takes that next step.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Irene Aldana. I've followed her since her amateur career all the way up into the UFC, and I just am super, super impressed with her boxing, man. Her boxing defense, especially too, as well, which doesn't really get counted in mixed martial arts, it seems. But boxing defense to me is worth so much because you're obviously not getting hit, not taking damage, and not giving the judges swayed by those big shots that are punishing. So Irene Aldana's striking defense, her boxing, she's faster than Holly Holm. The only thing that Holly Holm has on her is, like I said, possible is a leg kick edge on her. But Irene Aldana has better jujitsu on the ground. She is actually, I think, not given enough respect on her ground game because she is such a good boxer. But I think that if Holly Holm has to rely on a takedown game, that she's going to be sadly mistaken with Irina Aldana on her ground game and how she transits so well. So we're going to be putting down 1 unit on Irina Aldana at plus 105 for her to just school Holly Holm. She's younger, faster, stronger. She's got better defense, and she's got a left hook that I absolutely love seeing from boxers, female or male. And so we're going to be riding this Mexican train, baby.
So that is the bet for the main event at the 1 unit to win 1 unit, but quick minor breakaway. You want to give credit where credit is due. And now with the NHL playoffs being done, we want to give you how well that Mr. Primetime himself, MMAforMoney, the patron saint of both this show and this podcast, did. He did plus 19.03 units on the NHL playoffs on a whole. And I'm saying that for multiple reasons. One, it's just proving what we've said about his bets on primetime playoff anything. And two, to give you time for the sports that are still going on for him to make you money. He's got proven stuff, and it's just utterly shocking how well he does, just in general. But that's just a little bit of proof there. So by all means, go to the MMAforMoney.com website. All the different packages are on there for the different sports combinations, whether it just be for NFL, which is starting to heat up really good. And if you really want to get in there before any of them reach the playoffs, because he truly shines in the playoffs, thus the nickname Mr. Primetime. So by all means, please go do that. It is utterly phenomenal. Like in NASCAR, like you name it. It's
just to give you an example, MLB playoffs just started. He texted out a play today, and it was on the New York Yankees money line. It was at negative 115. If you go and check the New York Yankees score right now versus the Indians, they are just straight molly-whopping those fools. So that's easy money. Another unit added to the MMAforMoney team's bankroll. The shit's just so unreal. Off the $100 better, if you don't know what the 19 units means, it means $1,900 off the $100 better every time you bet a MMAforMoney pick. So don't be stupid. Get yourself a NASCAR package, an NHL package when they're playoffs, MLB, NFL. When it's prime time, it's Jay Tarullo time. So let's get it going.
And we will give you out results as best as I can remember. But either way, he always tweets out the results at the end of every night, end of every season. He's full transparent with how things go. You obviously don't get those bets on Twitter, but trust me, as someone who gets them, they are 100% factual. Sometimes hard to keep up with at some point because there's just so much coming out. Now with that little segue, we're going to jump back over. I am going to repeat to you what our bets are for this fight card, and I'm going to throw it to Mikey Gills to give our DraftKings lineup. So our bets are to win 1 unit on GDR at minus 135 and 1 unit to win 1 unit on Irene Aldana. Now, Mikey Gills, give us our sample. Big asterisk on all the fights, although Abu Dhabi things should work out. DraftKings lineup.
Yeah, I hope they don't fall. I think we've last card, nothing fell off. I think we just had a fight fall off yesterday. Yeah, there we go. But just real quick with this card, I wanted to say this is this obviously star power wise is not the best card that we have, but that's why I like playing DraftKings, because this forces you to be interested from top to bottom. That's one of the reasons I got into playing it. So if you're listening to the show for the first time and you've never tried DraftKings, this is really the perfect card to get you in on it, just because it gives you a reason to watch the whole thing and be excited. But we're going to start off at the top of our card. Charles Jourdain, $9,300. This is a no-brainer for me. He finishes every fight he wins. I like him a lot in this fight, and I'm willing to spend all the money to make sure that we get that sure thing at the top. don't give me some TJ Laramie situation on this one. Just going up the top with that one. But next we're going up with Yorgan De Castro, $8,900. Now, this one's risky in the sense that it's heavyweight MMA, but the reward is a guy that knocks out almost everyone he beats. And when you compare the styles of these two, this is a guy who he's got just the bigger arsenal and the better chance at landing those kill shots that you need. He's a few $100s cheaper than some of the other sure things at the top, but that really does help us. That helps us a lot, especially affording somebody like our next option, show pick GDR Jermaine Durandamy, $8,600. World-class kickboxer is going to win this fight as long as she can just stop those takedowns. But like what Real Mike said, even if she does, she's got the jiu-jitsu to get her way out of it. $8,600. She's a lock for me. Next up, this is the heart pick, Carlos Condit, $7,900. I just have to ask myself the simple question again. If two washed up fighters go at it, who would have won it in their primes? And I think Carlos Condit would have murdered Court McGee 10 years ago. I understand Condit's nowhere close to what he used to be, but I think he has a chance for to have one of those feel good turn back the clock nights. So let's go, Carlos Condit. Next up, $7,800, Irene Aldana. I'm going all in with you guys on this one. Holm is 38 years old. She's ripe for the picking, and Aldana is on the come up. She's on the rise. I think this price is a gift, just like Israel Adesanya at $8,500 last week. I think Aldana gets this done and she scores big in the process. Last up for $7,500, our cheapest dog on this one, but one I actually like for the win, Nasruddin Imavov, $7,500. Out of all the lower price fighters, I think if these two start brawling in the cage, Imavov's got that style, he's got that chance, and he's got that power to land on Jordan Williams, blast his face off into another dimension. And I think at this price tag, $7,500, I'm ready to roll with him. Let's go. One last thing, this slate maxes out the budget. I know on some of the other ones there's been some wiggle room. You'd have $300 to $500 if you like someone else just a little bit more. Not the case with this one. We're locked in for all 50 grand on this slate. There's no wiggle room.
Well, as you've said about Carlos Condit, he may not be as good as he once was, but he's as good as he ever was. And if anyone could text me or tweet me the actual name of the song that I just quoted, we will give you a shout out.
Is that I didn't know that was a song. I heard the Undertaker say that on his documentary, and I thought he came up with it.
No, it's a song. Right now. It's a country song. I would need to look up the exact name of it too, but in it he says, "I'm not as good. I'm replaying it in my head, but it is a quote from a country song. Trust me, I work out in the country. I work with all country people. I've heard the song a million times. Couldn't tell you what it is right now, but I'll look it up.
You just broke my heart. I quit.
I'm not as good as I once was, but I'm good once as I ever was. It's one of the random famous dude country artists. I'll have it out by the time someone texts it or tweets it over to me. Either way, any final sign off things before we bid adieu for the night? We will start with Real Mike. Mike, got any dues, shout outs, anything of that nature?
We just appreciate you guys each and every week tuning in the show, subscribing, sharing with your friends. We're nothing without you guys, and we love to just come on the air and just give you guys some free picks so you guys can have some good bets on the weekend. So let's roll.
Just one last thing. Just wanted to touch back on our DraftKings lineup from last week. It was the biggest card we've had since I've been a part of the show. Let's just keep it going. Let's get all 6 of these. Let's go.
My mini shout out is big shout out to my grandma who's gonna be 92 tomorrow. Still kicking it, still living alone, still driving, still nothing's gonna stop that old Dutch woman. So from one Dutch woman to another, go GDR. Well, we will be back next week to preview UFC Fight Island 5, still in Abu Dhabi. Moraes versus Sandhagen. That's an amazing 135 fight, way better than this 130. Either way. Good fight. Don't forget to subscribe to us on your platform of choice: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast Podcasts, RSS feed. Remember to subscribe on YouTube. You may be watching live on YouTube now. Please subscribe. Anything you missed, you can watch later. Or if you want to watch the show, if you're listening on podcasts right now, on any of your podcasts of choice, but you want to see what we look like. We're 3 relatively handsome guys. We're above average. So if you want to see this, see my crazy hand gestures, see how animated Mike got when he was screaming about Carlos Condit. Do you want to see the hats of choice for the night? Not me usually, but we usually have hats of choice on the other side. You got to check out the YouTube, comment, share, spread the word. Please do those Apple Podcast ratings. They do an absolute ton. And yes, like we said, DMs are always open on any side. Any questions about any fights are always up to debate, talk, you name it, and editing the show. What you like, what you don't like, let us know. And with that, let's roll.